Good afternoon, friends. It's The Drive with Denise DiGrigoli, live here at Hand Network every Tuesday, 12:30 to just about 1:30. It's an hour of motivational, intelligent talk with a little humor, all things and ideas that move us forward. Today, I don't know if you got my newsletter, and hopefully many of you did, we're having Allison Held join us. And the topic is calling all chronic dieters. And I know none of you in the audience are chronic dieters, including myself. So no, I'm just teasing, of course. We're going to shift lanes and hear some fresh ideas and new approaches to why chronic dieting can cloud our thinking and slow us down and perpetuate that hamster wheel that we all want to get off. So welcome to my old friend Allison Held from Healthful Direction, a wellness company in Westport, Connecticut. We're so thankful you joined us on The Drive.
Thanks for having me, Denise.
It's a pleasure. So we're going to jump right into it. Everyone looks for that shiny new diet, including myself. And I've had great success with the paleo diet, Weight Watchers, and there's different times in our lives that perhaps we try that shiny new diet. We had new baby, want to shed some pounds, getting ready for a special event, want to shed some pounds, and we go after that shiny new diet and we have some success. Then we kind of lose our motivation because we had just the right amount of success, and then the weight comes back on, and in some cases double. Perpetuates that decision to lose weight again, maybe a little depression, and that hamster wheel begins. So in comes Allison. What do we do?
Exactly. Well, I was once that person. Well, I wasn't in the process of perhaps losing weight, but working on my health. I was constantly seeking out that new diet. So whether it be paleo diet, whether it be vegan, whatever it was, I've done it. And I drove myself nuts. And what it did is it prevented me from that social element of going out there and enjoying food with my friends.
It kept you held back.
It kept me held back from living my life to the fullest. And so I had to change it somehow. And I did. And I found simple, effective ways to do that. And I find when my clients come to me, I've been doing this for over 10 years, and I have seen those clients who they come for a few sessions and I might never see them again, or they come for a few sessions and then they come back a year later. And it was really frustrating me to see this over time. So I now work with people on a longer retainer so that we can really dig deep and figure out what is at that root cause, because often it's far beyond the food.
So before we get into the root causes, because we have almost a whole hour together, tell me about all the shiny diets. I mentioned paleo, you mentioned vegan, of course we know Weight Watchers. Tell me some of the ones that are far-fetched, like the grapefruit diet or the cabbage soup. Give us a few names so people that are listening can say, yeah, you know what, I've tried all of those, and then what? Are there any?
Okay.
Yeah.
Atkins diet is a big one. Vegetarian or vegan. Let's see. There's the human growth or the growth hormone diet, where they inject you, right, where they inject you with that hormone that actually is the hormone that women produce when they're pregnant.
Is there any validity to that? I mean, that seems a little weird to me.
Yeah.
And of course, I don't have a scientific background, but being injected with a growth hormone that's the pregnancy hormone seems counterintuitive.
Exactly.
Does it work?
People have great success with it, but it restricts your calories to a point where it's about 500 calories a day during different periods of the diet.
Walking skeleton?
Well,
who eats 500 calories a day?
You're living on starvation, which is no way to live. So that's, other diets, I'm trying to think, and paleo is huge. And paleo, I use a paleo-based approach in my work, but the paleo diet itself, the mainstream media has really blown it up. There's hundreds of books out on the market now, so it's become this new hot thing to be doing. What else? I'm trying to think of cabbage soup, like you said.
I've had some success with the paleo diet, but what I think and what we want to talk about today is you do it for a little while and you reach what you think is your perceived success. Not really that end result goal, because let's face it, I'll use myself as an example. I get, 6 pounds into it when my goal might have been 10 or 12. All my clothes fit looser, and all of a sudden, it's the ticket to the after hours cocktails at, the local tavern downtown. after a hard day at work, right? You can now give yourself permission to fly. And then you open that door to fly, and the next thing you know, the 6 are back on, and now you also have another 12 right behind it.
Right.
So when you say root causes, and you said you had some of your own, take us back to where you began with this.
Where I began is trying all these different diets. I had
Were you overweight?
digestive.
Because you're certainly not overweight now.
I had digestive issues in my early 20s, but in college and prior to that, I struggled with just puffiness all around. So it wasn't that I was ever overweight. It was that my face was blown up. If you look at pictures of me in the past, I just didn't look
Now I've just
healthy
had a
and
moment of
vibrant.
self-consciousness here in the puffy factor. Go
No,
ahead.
stop. You're beautiful. So the change in my looks has happened over time by choosing foods that are supporting my most vibrant health, choosing thoughts that support my vibrant health.
And that's where we connect together on the daily drive, right? Because
Yes.
it's the thought, mind, body connection.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And that's so much a part of what I do. It's not just the food, it's beyond the food. So most people say you are what you eat,
Yeah.
and that's a nutritionist term, but I go far beyond that and say it's what you think, it's how you feel, it's your thought process, it's what you're saying to yourself and
Consciously
to others.
or out loud, right? Oh, I'm
Or
too fat
from a
for that.
subconscious level too that you're not even aware of, because sometimes on a conscious level, you're trying to get to your goal. You're saying, I want to lose weight. But on a subconscious level, you're telling yourself constantly,
Hey,
I
fatty.
can't do this.
Yeah.
Hey, fatty, help me out.
Yeah.
This isn't working. I'm sick of dieting.
Never works. It
never
works for somebody else.
It doesn't work at this point in my life. That's a big one because I work with a lot of women who are in menopausal type age, and
So they've counted
they've
themselves
given
out.
up. Yeah,
Yeah.
they've given up.
I'm supposed to be fat because I'm menopausal.
Right.
Really garish judgments. Well, so the daily drive, or the drive, is about a judgment-free zone, which also we said in the newsletter going out today. So we really want to talk very candidly. We know all that negative self-talk permeates all of society today. And we know that our bodies have a certain wisdom to repair and restore. How do we go to someone like you and really connect? Because there's a great amount of fear to really look that in the eyes and say, yeah, diets don't work because I'm my own greatest obstacle.
Right.
And I'll use myself as an example, right? I don't think I need to lose a ton of weight, but definitely in the back of my mind, I say, okay, when are you going to do it? Why haven't you done it yet? You keep saying you're going to do it. You keep writing it down in your daily drive that I'm going to be that sparkling size 6 that's, loose and fluid.
Right.
So what would you tell someone like me?
Well, first of all, my office is a very calming environment. So it's in a large colonial home. I have a nice office setting, which is a quiet atmosphere. I also work with people over the phone and on Skype if they don't feel comfortable coming to the office. So just that supportive environment alone is enough to make someone feel at comfort and at home where they can express themselves fully and know that it's a no judgment zone, just like it is right here. And so that's a nice starting point. And then I've been doing this a while, and I have a nice, just a calming atmosphere or calming approach to how I do things. Well, I hold people accountable. I also lead them step by step so that it's not frightening, it's not scary, it's a slow, steady process that gets results fast, so they start to see things going on.
So give me a tip. I've come in and I've expressed this to you because I always like to leave our listeners with something that they can take away that says, wow, I can do this.
Right.
Or it made me shift gears, maybe I can stop thinking about my next shiny diet and I can try that one thing I heard on the drive. So what can we tell the folks listening and watching? They're in a calming atmosphere, whether it's your office or the quiet comforts of their own den. What are they going to do to change that mindset? Just one iota.
Well, there's so many.
Okay, give me a couple iotas.
There's so many. I start out with the very basics of nutrition, just so that we're on the same page.
Okay.
So water is huge, and just getting people to drink any kind of water. Many nutritionists will say you've got to drink filtered water, you've got to make sure it's clean, and I say, starting out, it doesn't matter. Just get the water in you, because water is super cleansing, and water will help to clear the brain of any fog. It'll help to start your day off on a great note. Water is, a source of life itself, so you're putting that life into your body. And there's actually a famous scientist named Dr. Emoto, and he studies water crystals.
Yes, this is incredible. Too bad we don't have a photo of this, but explain it.
Yeah. Maybe we can post it on your website
Or
at some
we'll post
point,
it later.
which would be great. So he has very specified microscopes that look at the water crystals at such a deep, intense level that he can tell how these formations are happening with the water.
Right.
And he's gone to beautiful property. He's told water different things. He's spoken to the water. He's done prayer by the water. And what he finds is that when he's in a mucky lake and he's telling the water that he hates it, or he's in a beautiful environment but he's telling the water that he hates it, the crystals are mucky. They look like they're
They respond
unhappy.
to the vibration.
They respond to the vibration.
Right.
Whereas when he's praying near the water, when he's sending out positive vibes, it's these magnificent crystals that are forming. So that education alone, when I share that with my clients, it's a big aha, because it's not just about the water we're drinking, it's that our bodies are made up of...
And the energy we're putting into it. And your
Right.
body is a part of that quantum physics field that's responding to your words out and your words in. Now, when I read about Dr. Amiato, am I saying it correctly?
Amada. Yeah.
We're going to have Mario look
Emoto.
that up and see if he
Emoto,
can
I
find the
think.
image. But they had taken some very strong rock and roll lyrics that were of negative connotation, and they compared that to that of some orchestra, sort of Mozart type of music, and the frozen crystals responded so very differently. I actually showed it to our daughter, Ava, to say, look, when you're talking negatively about yourself versus when you're talking positively about yourself, I mean, this is just a scientific fact. So, okay, we've got the people hopefully drinking water, which is, so hard to do.
Yeah. And so little steps along, I've got a whole process for wherever the person is at, we take them to the next level with it. So if they're only drinking 1 glass of water a day, that's perfectly fine. They're not going to have to start with 8 glasses. It doesn't work like that, because we fail when we make our goal way too big to
Way
accomplish.
over the mountain, right.
Exactly. So we baby step it, and but we make it so that it's also challenging, and it puts them in a place of self-empowerment. So they're taking charge and seeing the changes. And so that's one tip. When they come in, I also use a biofeedback mechanism tool, which is our own body wisdom, really. There's no equipment. There's no microscopes like Dr. Emoto used. Instead, I'm using the person's arm to muscle test them.
All right,
it's
let's
also
go.
called kinesiology. So I'll press down on the arm. I'll have the client think about their arm. When you hold up your arm, you have to use a certain level of strength to hold your arm up, but you're not muscling through it. And then if you think about putting a feather on top of that arm and now holding your arm up, it's a little bit more strength, right, that you're needing to use. So when I press down on the client's arm, I'm not pressing very hard, and I'm asking the client different yes and no questions, and I'm asking them different beliefs. So I'm pulling up what they believe. So if I asked you to say, I can lose weight, and your arm went down, if it went down.
If it went
We're
down.
saying if it went down.
Hopefully our staff isn't watching this, like you just failed that, Denise.
If it went down, it gives me as a practitioner and the client as a desired person who wants to lose weight a certain level of awareness, a deeper level of awareness, saying, wow, on a conscious
I'm
level.
resisting.
You're resisting.
Yeah.
And there's great thought processes going on that are
Why would I
creating
be
this.
resisting? Because in my mind, I tell myself every day in my daily drive journal that I am ready to do this. But we just met the crossroad right there.
Yeah, well, think about your childhood. Think about what you pick up from the media. Think about these diet books that are all around you and the community we live in Fairfield County, where everybody's competing for the perfect body, the perfect job, whatever it might be. Not to say that we're all like that, but there's definitely a level of competition where we live.
Absolutely.
And so we've got these behaviors and these thought processes that we've picked up from conception to today. And a lot of it is based on the conception to about 8 years old. We see our parents, we see our grandparents, we have things maybe in our genealogy even that we've picked up. So those beliefs are things that you've been programmed to just believe on a subconscious level.
So we're getting a flag that we're going to go to a break, and I find this extremely interesting. So we will be coming back quickly. So is it a therapeutic session with you, or do you go beyond that and move past those beliefs and get to some actionable items, or is it a little bit of both?
It's a little bit of both.
Okay, guys, you're going to have to tune back in. We're going to be back in about a minute or two to learn more about the chronic dieting cycle and how it can cloud your thinking. And clearly, I might need some declouding based on that kinesiology. Okay, so we know Denise doesn't always say the words correctly. We'll be right back. The Drive with Denise DiGrigoli here on Han Network, Tuesdays, 12:30.
When you experience a sports injury, you want to get better and fast. Coastal Ortho Express gives you direct access to orthopedic care quickly. Their physicians are fellowship trained in sports medicine at world-class universities and are also team doctors for area football teams. For specialized personal care of sports injuries, go to Coastal Ortho Express, open Monday through Saturday in the iPark Building, 761 Main Avenue in Norwalk, or coastalorthoexpress.com. Coastal Orthopedics, keeping you on the move.
While the temperatures are cooling down, the fall bite is heating up. Albies, bonita, blackfish, alligator blues, and stripers are following the large schools of bait that are abundant in the Long Island Sound. If you love the New England coast during autumn, this is the time to be on the water. The latest from Shimano, Quantum, Avet, Hoagie, Phase 2, and more are in stock and ready to go at the dock shop. And don't mind those fall breezes with jackets, hats, gloves, and fleece from Grundens and Stormer. The dock shop will keep you warm and dry. Boater, beach bum, fisherman, or simply love the New England coast, this is a unique place to shop. The Dock Shop, now in 2 locations, 51 Tokenique Road, Darien, 609 Riverside Avenue, Westport, or on the web, dockshop.com.
Tired of all the bull? Relax and enjoy the experience of buying a car at Panby Chrysler Jeep Dodge and Ram. No bull allowed.
Have no fear. HAN Network's Fast Frights movie contest is here. Can your film make the cut? Submit your 3-minute scary movie today for a chance to win a DJI Phantom 3 drone. Sponsored by Milford Photo. The only thing to fear is missing the deadline. Have no fear. HAN Network's Fast Frights movie contest is here. Can your film make the cut? Submit your 3-minute scary movie today for a chance to win a DJI Phantom 3 drone. Sponsored
Exactly.
So I'm fine the way I am, and I think, and I'm not trying to over perfect. I think sometimes too, we go to the other side of dieting where people are over dieting, right? So they got the taste of that and things worked out really well, and now, for lack of a better word, they've almost emaciated themselves. And I'm sure you see all of this.
Right.
So how can we shed some clarity to get people to calm down and sort of find themselves? What could they do?
Well,
You said goal setting.
Goal setting is really important. And then from there, we need to start looking at tracking what we're doing, because awareness is huge. A lot of times we don't have
Tracking.
that
Scary word,
Yeah,
tracking.
we don't have that mindset. So animals, out in the wild, they know exactly what to eat, when to eat, and when to not eat. Right. And as humans, we've got all these marketing slogans and fancy shiny products, not just diet books, but also food in the supermarket.
Or restaurants, or,
Right.
right?
So really becoming aware of what those ingredients are, what is the long-term effect of those ingredients, and being mindful. I know that that's not what we're here to talk about necessarily today, but it's a huge part of it, is to really start to build your awareness by tracking your food. And there's other measures of tracking besides your food.
Like what?
Weight on the scale is one way you can track, but it's not my favorite.
Yeah, I was going to say, Troy threw our scales out in our house because I was becoming obsessed with looking every single day. And if I didn't see it move 1 iota, then I was upset.
Right.
And you know what? We probably haven't had a scale since, I want to say, the end of school year last year, and I've kind of gotten used to it. The first few months, it was horrible. But now I feel like it's okay because I'm tuning into when I'm really hungry, when I'm really not, and when I am actually hungry, I make a good decision. Like, okay, you know what? As much as I want to have that giant chocolate bar that's hanging out in the freezer,
Right.
I'm going to move for the salad.
Right.
And so there's a little bit of prepping on my end too now. I had to really jump in with my goals and start to prep things in advance. So it wasn't the quick grab.
And that's another huge tip that I give people. You can't expect to open up the fridge and find all sorts of healthy food in there unless you've actually
Completely
done the
prepped
work.
in the nice little containers to just simply take off.
Right.
Right.
Unless you've done the work,
Right.
do the work. We've all got, if we work for a corporation or we work for ourselves, we have to do the work in order to build that business. So I like to talk to a lot of my clients who are business executives or in the work field about, this is an operational thing that we're doing. We have to set up systems in place that remind us about prepping, that remind us to drink water. And so I have people going into their calendar and actually setting these timers that go off in the middle of the day and say, eat lunch, because there's many people that go an entire day and realize at 4 o'clock that they're ravenous.
Well, that would be
They
Troy.
eat everything in sight.
No, he doesn't eat everything inside, but the timer for me would be like, don't eat that chocolate. Because I'll eat my lunch, at a regular lunchtime, but I find myself right at 3 with that cup of coffee, I'm down the dessert highway.
Right.
So what about...
And would you run your business that way, though?
No.
That's the thing.
That's the thing.
And
You're
it's
right.
our body we should honor even more than our business, because this is our spiritual body. This is our physical element that is carrying us through the world, that's giving us strength and power to actually do our other
business.
work.
Right.
So it all
Exactly.
goes hand in hand. Mind, body, spirit. It's all.
Isn't that interesting that we don't make ourselves a priority in the same way we make our business or our children a priority? Another great example of what you just said would be in the case when people are pregnant, right? They're very mindful about what they eat and what they don't eat, and they do that for 9 months, and it's really not a trouble.
Right.
But after that, to do it for themselves, it's like, there's no, just can't get
Exactly.
it back on track.
Right.
So that's, I think, another great thing to talk about is helping people set their priorities and really saying, and I say this often in the Daily Drive when we're teaching it, if you're not ready to do it, then don't do it. But don't set yourself up for failure where you say you're going to do it and not do it. Do you have any of that in your trainings?
The self-sabotage that
Yeah.
people are going through. Yeah, there's a lot of self-sabotage.
Like-
and why is that?
Yeah.
We
Why
have
is
to
that?
ask the questions. Why are we doing this? And a lot of times it's because we have excuses that are coming up, and we have to cut through those excuses and go back to the goal, go back to the motivation and the drive that's carrying us forward, and setting up those systems, because we can, it can be a reminder on our calendar, but if we push it off to the side and
We hit
find
snooze.
our priorities, we have to prioritize, and we have to align our systems so that they all work together. So if you can remember that I'm drinking this water so that I have a clear head for my meeting at 3:00 this afternoon when I'm with top executives or whatever.
So
it
it
might
is
be.
a little bit of slowing down. It's a little bit of being mindful, and it's really thinking through your choices. It's what it sounds like you're telling me.
Yes.
So we've got sort of the mind piece down. Give us some nutritional tips. You've
Sure.
given us the water, and we're not going to choose the shiny diet, but we just need some real nutritional tips. Like, what can we do? And I don't know if you want to focus on men, women, children all at the same time. You use your expertise and let us know.
Well, it's very similar, actually, what children, adults, and any age group needs to be eating, and that is clean, whole food. It's very simple because if we look back 2 generations ago, we had farms. We knew our farmer. We were the farmers.
Yeah.
And so we would go outside and pick up our fresh lettuce and hand-grown tomatoes and cob of corn, and everything was clean and pristine going into our bodies.
Right.
And we didn't have a lot of food. So now the portions are out of control.
Yeah, I know.
And so again, we go back to the mindfulness. It always comes full circle. And so the food, going back to whole food and shopping the perimeter of the store. And while it seems so simple,
So let's just slow down right there for a second. So what is shopping the perimeter of the store? Because I know there's some people that flew right over their heads. What is that?
Okay, so the perimeter of the store is where you're going to find your fresh produce. So if you walk into a grocery store, typically right in front of you or all the way to the right-hand side or to the left-hand side, you're going to see all those fruits and vegetables. And we all know that fruits and vegetables are loaded with tons of antioxidants. They're going to help us with anti-aging, and they're going to trim the fat off our body. And so when we load up our cart, we should see a rainbow of colors. Many times we're picking the 5 foods that we're used to. We always go for the asparagus. We always go for the salad. But do we ever go for the kale? Do we ever go for the bok choy?
So you're saying try new as well.
So try new things every week. This is a fun activity to do with kids. Every week, have your kids put in a new colorful vegetable for them to try. They're involved in the process, and the whole family gets to try a new recipe out or try new taste buds out, which is really important to expand our diet because kale is fantastic, but everything in moderation. You
Right.
could eat too much kale
Yeah.
and run into thyroid issues if you're not careful. So
Oh, I didn't know that. That's very interesting.
yeah.
So don't include orange, the color of cheese doodles. That wouldn't work for you.
Oh, artificial
No.
colors.
No.
No. We want all natural colors if we can.
Okay, so we're talking about tips
Shopping
on,
the perimeter.
Yep,
Yeah.
and tips on nutrition. So we've got and do you subscribe to the belief that you should maybe eat what's in season because what's in
Exactly.
season will naturally help detox your body?
Exactly. So we're also running into a different season right now. We
Right.
wake up and it's cold mornings. We come home at night and it's cold evenings. So depending on what season we're in, we need to adjust our schedule. The latest and greatest diet is really shakes. Everybody's doing shakes, breakfast, lunch, and
Shakes,
sometimes dinner,
Leaves me
sometimes a
starving.
snack. And well, the shakes can be very filling if they're done correctly. Many times people just don't have the tools to make that correct shake, which we can talk about. But it's cold. These shakes are something that's going to cause the body to
Shake.
shake, So why not do something warm in the morning? Really, even if it's a shake with a nice glass of warm tea is going to at least get you into a seasonal mode with your body. For generations, we've been eating seasonally, and now in the last 20, 30, 40, 50 years, we've moved into salads every day. Forget the bread, eat the salad. That's the approach.
Gluten-free, paleo, no
Yeah.
bread. Mm-hmm.
And that can be wonderful for somebody that's got a lot of inflammation because those cooling foods will calm down the body. But for many of us, it creates this cold, damp sensation in the body, which is not a seasonal approach. We need warming soups, stews, and things like that during the winter months, during the fall months, to blend ourselves more in season with what's going on, to prepare us for the hardy winter.
I was at a Canyon Ranch a few years back, and a gentleman there that was doing some acupuncture said that it was always better to drink room temperature water because he felt like, he said, otherwise the cold water would shock the system and the warm water helped detoxify and move things through the body. Do you believe that's true as well?
I think it depends. Cold water has benefits, and cold water will rev up the metabolism. So if you're looking to lose weight, sometimes that cold water is a great approach. Yes, the room temperature water and warm water is not as shocking to the body, but I don't necessarily know if I agree with the detoxification element. A great detoxification method, though, is warm water with some lemon juice and maybe a little dash of cayenne pepper.
I've heard that before. So what's that detoxifying, the liver or the whole system?
Lemon's very good for the liver and also for the gallbladder, so you can just help to cleanse that system first thing in the morning. And the cayenne pepper, the benefit of that is that
cayenne pepper? Woo!
Just a dash, just a dash. And so you just do a little dash in there, and it gives you that extra kick in the morning. But what it's really doing is kicking that metabolism. So it's a nice fat burning tool.
I hope you're listening, guys, because we're giving you a ton of great tips, and I hope someone's taking notes at home so I remember. So moving right along, now they've changed the food pyramid so much in our country.
Right.
Tell us your beliefs on the food pyramid and nutrition.
Okay. So the food pyramid, the original food pyramid that I'm aware of, has bread as being bread and grains being our largest element down at the bottom.
Right.
And going up to the steep pyramid where, I can't remember what's at the top, but fruits and vegetables are somewhere up there.
Right.
And so they've changed it to a plate, which is better, but it doesn't really provide us with a lot of individual attention. It gives us generic principles and guidelines.
Broad stroke. Yeah.
Right. And I provide my clients with a plate, but it is still a bit of a mash broad stroke until we start to dig deep and say, okay, what about you? How does your day look? How is this going to fit into your lifestyle? And so on my plate, it has a ton of vegetables. I want clients to be eating 5 to 7 groups of vegetables a day, but maybe that's not doable.
Right.
So how can we get those vegetables in? Maybe it's a green powder that we're adding to some water throughout the day, or maybe it's just cooking up a bunch of vegetables at the beginning of the week and thinking about how we can have more of it. What are the local sources where you can go, the restaurants where you can order a nice side dish of vegetables? So little things like that to try and make that food plate seem more approachable and more dedicated to the individual, and adjusting things like starch. Starch is not a bad thing. Bread is not a bad thing, in my opinion. But it's how much. So
we're getting called on a break, but interesting you just said bread is not a bad thing, because it's almost like me and Dr. Emoto. Once I hear that, everything calms down in my body when someone like you has given me permission to eat bread. That doesn't open the door for all bread all the time. But I feel like it's also the power of the influence and what you buy into and what you believe and who you trust. And so, again, we started the session with letting go of our control and putting it in a book. We're going to be back in about a minute or so talking about taking back our own power and helping ourselves get off that chronic hamster wheel of dieting with Allison Held, our nutritional coach today. Thanks so much for coming in. This is we're covering so many things. Back in a few minutes, guys. Thanks so much.
Alliance. We are an industry leader in coordinating transportation for large events such as corporate road shows, conferences, and special events. Our team of experts understands the dynamics and logistics of high-pressure situations and complex arrangements, all within a rapidly changing environment. Since 1999, we have added charter jets, event management, and personal protection to our range of services. Mention this ad for $25 off your next round-trip reservation. Alliance and you. Together, we can achieve the extraordinary. 855-546-6996 or alliancelimo.com.
The fall bite is heating up. Albies, bonita, blackfish, alligator blues, and stripers are following the large schools of bait in the Long Island Sound. This is the time to visit the New England coast, and the Dock Shop can get you outfitted with the latest fishing gear, jackets, hats, gloves, and fleece. Boater, beach bum, fishermen simply love the New England coast. This is a unique place to shop. The Dock Shop, now in 2 locations, 51 Tokenique Road, Darien, 609 Riverside Avenue, Westport, or on the web, dockshop.com.
Kycote Rockefeller Estate is Westchester County's top cultural attraction and is now open for the season. Don't miss out. Go online to hudsonvalley.org to plan your visit. Take a drive out to beautiful Sleepy Hollow, New York, and enjoy Kycote's stunning architecture, breathtaking gardens, expansive art galleries, and commanding Hudson River views. From world-class art by Picasso and Warhol to expertly tended gardens, there's something for everyone. Kycote Rockefeller Estate, a National Trust for Historic Preservation landmark. Back to school means back to busy, and Stewart's Market can save you precious time by stocking all of your favorite essentials under one roof. For a healthy start to school, we have all the ingredients. Walter Stewart's, your family-owned fresh local market, 229 Elm Street and at stewartsmarket.com.
It's time to come back to hometown banking, where people are taken into account, not just balances. Where community comes first. A place where there's more than one kind of interest. Where automation will never replace consideration. Where they not only know your name, they know your dog's name too. It's time to expect more. It's time to bank well. Bank smart. Bank local. Bank well.
Welcome back. It's The Drive with Denise DiGrigoli, and I'm here with Allison Held, and we're talking about nutrition and getting off that hamster wheel of being chronic dieters and allowing things like that to cloud our thinking. And we were talking during the break about bread, and if you ate a sandwich every day of the week, that would be 12 slices of bread, provided you did it all 7 days,
Right.
12 or 14 slices of bread, which is roughly a loaf.
Exactly.
And then you said, where does the loaf go? And I looked down and I was like, well, hopefully not there.
Well, many of us look at that bread as, oh, it's just a sandwich. But
Yeah.
then when you start to piece it together, and that's why the food journaling works so well, because you can look at the big picture. A lot of times we're just focused on, oh, I'll have a sandwich for lunch, or oh, I'll have a salad for lunch. But if you look at, okay, what's going on over the entirety of 7 days, it puts it all into perspective.
And that's why Allison's such a great guest for The Drive, because it's all about that mindful living and then being okay with journaling about it, right?
exactly.
Because you get in touch with yourself, tracking, journaling, writing it down. There's something very unique about when you actually commit to tracking. Tracking seems harsh to me. Writing it down, acknowledging it, making it part of your system. Isn't it funny that when we write things down, they actually get done?
Right?
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 As I say that, and my trainer's like, okay, Denise, where's your food journal? It's coming. Anyways, tell us about that. So if we're not, so someone probably just said, oh my God, I eat a sandwich every single day of the week. Now what do I do? What do they do? When you shed that awareness on us, what do we do with it?
Well,
Because the default, I think, for humans is to say, I failed already. Oh my God, I've been eating, 12 slices of bread for how many years? So what do you do to tease that apart? Because it is mindful. It's a mindful approach you're offering.
Mindful process, yeah. And it depends on the individual. So not everybody is going to say, I want to give up bread and lose the weight, because it's just not a lifestyle approach.
Right.
And so it's about finding what your perfect balance is. But often, why not do an experiment with your body and go a couple of weeks and see how you do with less carbohydrates in your diet, and then slowly increase that and find your range, what works for you. So if you're an athlete, you probably can take in more of those carbohydrates than somebody that is stagnant at their desk all day long. So it's about tuning into the body and building those behaviors. When you're tracking, you're not only tracking what you're writing down with your food, but you're also tracking how you're feeling. So if you're fatigued after lunch, that could be because of those 2 slices of bread. But
Right.
if you brought it down to 1 slice of bread, or included a soup and just did a lettuce wrap with that, maybe it's not every day of the week, but a couple days a week, and it gave you that energy that you needed for that long day at work, then that's a better approach to be using.
So when I was reading some of the things about you and your website and your work, it said your body will naturally restore itself. And we were talking about that last week with Dr. Bev Marr unlocking the possibilities and the wisdom within the body. So it seems to be a resounding theme for fall, that the body knows. And I wonder, do we give our body enough time to know and to tell us back? So when you say try something for 2 weeks, take a few things out of your diet, put it back, how long would you say it takes for a body to restore itself? If you were truly mindful and responding and listening to those changes.
It depends on the individual. For some, the detox period with this 2-week experiment can be 4 of those days, or it can be even longer. So if you're someone that takes a while to get off the sugar, it depends what your starting point is at. If you're eating a Snickers bar every day, then yes.
Allison has ESP, I'm just letting you know.
No, I'm kidding. So if you're doing these things that are creating a poor diet to start, then you're going to have a lot longer to go to allow the body to adjust. But if you're just having the bread in your diet and that's your only bad thing that you think you're doing, then it might be a quicker approach where the 2 weeks is all you need. With the energy work, just to go back to that, we can build a healthy relationship with our foods. And even without the energy work, if you're eating something and afterwards you're feeling guilty about that,
I think so many of us do that. Like, I had a soda.
Yeah.
And the guilt, I don't allow Ava to have soda, but I just, drank one on the way here. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do we do with that?
So instead of tuning into that guilt, if you feel yourself going to that place, because that's not a pretty place to be going to, we want to turn that around. We want to say delete.
We want to get off that road,
right?
For sure.
So I tell my clients, just say delete. Delete it out.
That's the biggest tip we've got in the entire show. I love that tip. Delete.
And then delete and replace.
Delete and replace. Even better.
So replace it with something positive.
Right.
And you've got this in your journaling system as well. And what that does, initially, it might not create a massive change, but if you do it repetitively, it starts to build upon those. It rewires what's going on in the brain, and it becomes easier and easier with time to press the delete really quickly
and replace
and replace it. And pretty soon you've got 1,000 mantras that you're using, and it's
that is the best tip of the day, and that I think would break the chronic dieter's cycle.
Yes.
It's okay to be you and to make choices and delete and replace.
And a lot of times what we're doing when we talk about the left and right brain hemisphere, we're going in a stressed state where we're feeling guilty about something or eating something that's we think is perceived not good for us. We're going off on a one brain approach, which is stressful to the body. And if we can come back to our whole brain state, which is being mindful, which is
I love it.
Thinking about things in a different perspective instead of saying I'm stressed, I'm guilty, I did something bad. It's not bad. We're not perfect. We need to embrace our imperfections and just reframe the situation.
Delete and replace. Couldn't be better. So I think you've given us some incredible tips to veer away from those shiny diets and take charge of our own thinking, be mindful of what we're putting into our bodies, and also try to change the way you eat a little bit,
right,
and see if it affects how you feel. Okay, if I kind of summarized it?
You've got it.
Okay. So I want to know a little bit more about you. You help a lot of people, and I know you've been very successful at this. And people, again, can find you at your website if you want to give it to us, healthfuldirection.com?
Correct.
Okay. And so, obviously, she knows her stuff, and we've just given her a fabulous plug. But what do you do to recharge you? Because I'm sure all of us that do whatever we do in our lives have moments of off-roadness where we second-guess ourselves. So someone like you, what do you do to steer yourself back on?
I love nature. And if I can get outside and go for a walk, that refills my soul and allows me time to separate myself from a situation that might not feel so good. It allows me to be creative because when I'm on that walk, I get all sorts of downloads of information about how I can look at the situation differently or create something new. And I go for a lot of hikes in the woods. So while walking is great, what I find most peaceful is to be out in nature where I'm on the dirt track and I've got the trees and the water by my side.
Fresh air.
Fresh air, breathing in vitamin O, oxygen,
Right.
is so important. So I do that, and I'm also an avid downhill skier, and I like speed. So I like to go fast, and there's nothing more freeing than being in the moment and being present. And to me, when I'm not in the moment, I just close my eyes and think of how I feel when I'm skiing, and that brings me back to the here and now.
So you tap into something you love, and it kind of fills that void and brings you back into the here and now.
Exactly.
And what's next on the list of intentions for you and your company? Where are you driving to next? What's the next road for you?
Okay. Well, I'm building a new website at the moment.
Okay.
And really this work with chronic dieters excites me and fuels me. So I would hope that down the road there will be a book around how to use more of these tips to be integrated into people's lives without it being a shiny diet book. It's more about, practical solutions, self-empowering solutions that people can use right away to start to change their mind shift around dieting and health and well-being. And then also I do run group programs, so doing more of those group programs where on a larger scale I can bring people in at an affordable rate to work with people on an energetic level and also on a practical level to facilitate that great support that's needed.
It's a little easier to talk about energy work now where we are in today's society of conscious business and mindful living. And, that's sort of course, what the drive revolves around. But teaching energy work through nutrition is almost like teaching energy work through doing, strategic marketing consulting. Yeah. Although it is becoming more widely accepted as people become more conscious, in all of their practices. Tell me how you find that energy conversation working with some of your clients and others that just whoop right over their head. What are they talking about?
Well, I'll have to say that when I first started doing the energy work, it was more of a self-interest. I just became passionate about it. And then I realized, I can apply this to my business. But I was always tentative, and I was always scared to introduce it to clients. I would introduce it to the clients that I thought might be a good fit, and my intuition was always right. It worked out well. But there were certain clients where I didn't want to touch it with a 10-foot pole.
Right, because you're like, I'm not going back to her.
Right. And I come from a corporate background, and that's how I present myself, very professional way. And I didn't want them to think, she's woo-woo. I'm not going to go there. But where I found the greatest transformation is with the people that were doing that sort of work with me, that were really going to that level that was more mind, body, soul connected.
Right.
And so my messaging is non-threatening when it comes to being woo-woo and it comes to energy work. These are just tools that we're using.
What might you say, for example?
We're working with
beyond muscle testing and that kind of stuff. What else? What else for nutritional energy work can I
We're tapping into your greatest body's wisdom, wisdom that you might not be consciously aware of. And we're finding answers on, an easy way. And we're transitioning those answers into huge solutions, which can make profound changes.
So I'm sure you've seen a client with an aha moment, and we're getting ready to close here. Can you share with me one of those great aha moments that you felt really great when your client, of course, no names, but when they expressed something that really it just clicked and they got it?
Okay. Well, there's so many little aha moments along the path, but I think when somebody starts to walk away from making these changes and they start to see things showing up in their life, things look a lot different. So when they go out into the world, they're starting to see more positivity in their life. They're starting to have a different outlook. Opportunities are coming to them that they didn't see before. They were always there, but we're all a mirror for one another. And so when they go out into the world, those changes that they've made within themselves are now being presented in the outer world as well. And so that happens with many clients. That's not, I know it's a broad example, but it's factual. It happens, and it blows me away when people come back for their next session and tell me the change that they see in the outer world.
Well, it's sort of like that pre-sponding, and some people call it the gratitude list. I call it pre-sponding, responding. You put it out there. I mean, it's almost like an intention. And it's funny how we all are mirrors, but there's really no chance coincidences in the field of quantum physics, right? You put it out
Totally.
there, right, and it comes back.
Yeah.
Well, this has been exceptionally interesting, and I'm so appreciative that you joined us today. And maybe we'll check back with you in the new year and see where your book of helpful solutions might be. It's Denise DiGrigoli, The Drive, Tuesdays on HAN Network. Motivation, intelligent talk, and all things that move us forward. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next Tuesday, and you can find us live on the network site, han.network.